welcome back to McElroy's Motors, and in today's video I got some good news I'd like to share with you guys, and that is the fact that I got myself a brand new alternator for Sadie, my 1997 Saturn SL1. My precious shall be mine. Now viewers, if you are wondering why I picked up a new alternator for Sadie, it is simply because the one that is in the car right now is showing signs of going bad. I had some dash lights flickering, I had some cold cranking starting issues, and above all else, it just wasn't a very happy camper. So I picked up this new remanufactured alternator from O'Reilly's. This cost me $160 or roughly 100 pounds, and it comes with a lifetime warranty, so I got a great deal. But there is a bit of a catch, because Sadie is a bit of an odd car. And what I mean by that is the fact that this alternator could be the alternator that fits, or it may not fit because there are two separate types of plugs depending on which alternator is used. One either has a rounder plug or one has a square plug. We won't know until after we dive deep and figure out what kind of alternator this car actually takes. But given the fact that Sadie doesn't even have 65,000 miles on her, and the fact that this car is 28 years old and was owned by the same old lady who had it since new, I am betting you a wager that this alternator that is in the car currently is the original alternator from when the car left the assembly line in Spring Hill, Tennessee in August of 1996. In other words, 2 years before I came into this world. Ooh, it's so shiny. You didn't see that, did you? Now, one thing I'm also grateful for is the fact that I picked up my alternator when I did, because if you've been following the news with world current events, you'll know that President Donald J. Trump is trying to impose a 25% tariff on anything that is foreign. That includes car parts, cars made in other countries, and so on and so forth. And I think it is by far, in a way, the stupidest thing we Americans could ever face. And the fact that other nations are retaliating, and the fact that Donald Trump is putting a tariff on a nation or an island that's not even populated by humans, it's populated by penguins. That just shows how much of a stupid moron that is running our country currently. And like I said, I'm very grateful I got this alternator when I did, because even though this was $160 or 100 pounds, let's just say this would have been probably upwards of $200 if the tariff were to take place. $200 for a remanufactured part. Now, what's inside the box is a brand new alternator. The outside of the alternator is remanufactured, but all the interior gubbins are all the good stuff and the stuff that is all brand new. And like I said, this alternator comes with a lifetime warranty, so I think that this alternator could very well last the entire life of the car, assuming it's got plenty of life left in it, because like I said, it has less than 65,000 miles, so it's about time this alternator goes in. However, replacing it won't be the easiest task. I thought the alternator would be right above, like right next to the engine, like next to the exhaust manifold or even the spark plug wires, but boy could I be more wrong. Turns out the alternator is buried deep below the AC compressor, and to the point where I have to take off the right front wheel, I have to take off the fender winding, and as well as I have to take off the serpentine belt. So luckily, in a couple of days, my friend is going to be coming by, a friend of mine who I've not seen in about 5, 6, 7 years, and he's willing to help me get this alternator installed, because if it wasn't for him, I would be without a car for God knows how long. And it is something I actually want to learn how to do, because I've actually never changed an alternator beforehand. I did try one time with a 2007 Ford Focus, and it went badly wrong because the bolts that I had that held the alternator in place sheared clean off. And I hope to God that doesn't happen this time around. But anyways guys, I will see you when my friend gets here Sunday morning. As you guys can see, Sadie starts up just fine. And this is its first cold start in about 1 or 2 days. I've been riding with my friend Sean to work. But at the same time, don't let this fool you, because after the car warms up, that's when the long cranks, the dashboard lights flickering, all that stuff begins. It is a bit of a shame knowing that my alternator is starting to show signs of going bad, mainly because the car runs and drives perfectly fine. But that being said though, I just want to replace it just to be on the safe side of things, mainly because I have not one but 2 road trips scheduled before the end of the year. And it is, like I said, when the car warms up that the symptoms start to become present. The car starts to drone on and on, much like an asthmatic whale during mating season. But the more I think about it, if you recall in my earlier YouTube video where I took Anthony and Sean to Bloomington, Indiana, we had a bit of a problem where the blower motor was starting to make some kind of ridiculous buzzing noise. I'm thinking that's probably the reason why it happened, because it was not getting enough voltage or enough current to the motor. But either way, hopefully this new alternator sorts everything out. Now, my grandfather is giving me a really hard time saying, "Oh my god, you just replaced the brakes. Oh my god, you need to replace the alternator now too." And I'm sure there are people out there on my YouTube community who probably would be thinking the same thing. But keep in mind a few things here. Number one, this car only had 54,000 miles on it when I bought it back in October, and the old lady who had it before me, she drove it at most 2,500 to 3,000 miles per year at maximum. She even told me there was one year where she even drove this car about 550 miles. So this car has hardly ever been driven, and cars are meant to be driven. Secondly, this car may be 28 years old, and the national average for an American person to put mileage on their car is 15,000 miles a year. I've only owned this car 6 months, and I've already put 10,000 miles on this car already. So this car's been driven everywhere. I've driven to Kentucky, Washington, D.C., Indiana, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Ohio, you name it, I've pretty much been there already. So this car's been driven a lot, and I'm very thankful that this car, despite its age of 28 years, has been as perfectly reliable as it has been. And replacing an alternator is just part of regulatory maintenance anyway. Alright, we're back at base, and now we're just going to wait here for a little bit for my friend to arrive. Now, for my viewers who do not know what exactly an alternator does, when you start the car, the battery is what engages the starter motor, and then it draws power over time. The alternator supplies power to the battery, so therefore you have a constant cycle. But let me just show you where exactly the alternator is on this beautiful 28-year-old Saturn. If I pop the hood and then secure the camera in place so I can get the hood prop up, there we go. You guys will get a chance to see, once again, the tried and true 1.9 liter electronically fuel injected, 8-valve, 4-cylinder engine, making an even 100 horsepower. But we're not talking about stats or horsepower figures today. But as you can see, that is the AC compressor right there. But the alternator, I'm not sure if you can see it, is buried way down there. It's kind of hard to see with this pulley in the way, but you can see it just a bit right there. So this looks less fun than drowning to get off, but I'm sure if there's a will, there's a way. But first things first, we gotta get rid of this serpentine belt. Now, of course, there's one thing we have yet to decide here. As you can see, my driveway is not flat, and it's definitely not smooth pavement. So where exactly are we going to work on this car? Luckily, my neighbor next door, Teddy, great guy, he's allowing us to use his property to get the work done, because he has a nice, flat, level driveway. Thank God for that. Cherry blossoms. And my friend is here in this Chevrolet Malibu. Haven't seen one of these in a hot minute. What's going on, Delaney? Haven't seen you in a hot minute.
But if I didn't have that tool, I'd have to squeeze my hand in there, put the wrench in on it, have you fucking pull the belt off while I'm pulling the tension on it.
Hopefully it doesn't give you too much grief. Tell me when it's high enough for you.
You're good. It needs to go high enough to where it starts to roll back. It'll slide back, even with you having that.
Oh, the emergency brake is on. Well, progress is happening. We got the front right wheel off. As you can see, it's sitting right there, and there's the hubcap to it as well. But Brandon went over to go get his smaller tool set so we can disconnect the battery. And what's weird about this car is it has the posts on the side. So getting to it will be a little tricky, but it will be perfectly doable.
What I like to do though is just take off both just in case.
Yeah.
Just so that way there's no connection.
I was surprised it takes an 8mm bolt. I mean, this is an American car, mind you. Especially one from the 90s. Well, I had to run inside to grab myself a flashlight or a torch mainly because the serpentine belt tensioner is pretty crammed in here. But if there's a will, there's a way. We're gonna get this sucker out. Got the serpentine belt untensioned. Time now to get really down and dirty and get that old alternator out. I am now underneath Sadie, and that alternator definitely looks old. And I'm consuming a diet today. I ate some vegetables, and now I'm eating some dirt. The old alternator is officially out, and we are able to confirm it is the original factory alternator from 1997. One way you can tell, it says Delco right there, and that is a GM part supplier. But do you guys remember when I said that there's a 50-50 chance that the alternator, well, the new one at least, would not exactly fit because of the connection? Lo and behold, it doesn't fit, so we have to drive across town to go get a replacement. Not necessarily a replacement, but swapping them around. Alright, we got the original alternator, the one that actually fits. So it's now time to head back across town to get home and install it. Let's just hope it's not going to rain until after we get this thing taken care of, because even though it's supposed to rain today, it's supposed to snow tomorrow. Back to Sadie. Once we get the alternator put into the bracket and secured in place, everything will be pretty much smooth sailing from there. First bolt is back in, and quite a rare truck made by Lincoln. Within about 5 minutes, we got the second bolt in. We are predicting we can have this thing running probably within the next 10 minutes. Sadie here does not have a timing belt, which came as a surprise to me. But when you do replace an alternator, you do want to replace the serpentine belt as well. But luckily we don't have to do that, because it looks like the serpentine belt was recently replaced, like probably before I even got the car, so I think we're good there. Brandon is putting the fender liner back in right now. I'm just tightening up the battery. Figured I'd help for once. But it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Time to put the negative post back on. Got the serpentine belt back in place. I've actually never worked on a car that had a side posted battery before, but hey, at least I'm learning something. But if this torque wrench would be cooperative, I can also learn not to lose my temper as well.
Yeah, don't do that. Whatever you break in your own car, I'm not responsible for it.
That's why I'm trying not to break anything. You're putting the fender well, the fender well liner back in place?
Yeah.
Alright.
That's essentially back in place.
Alright, the battery is in. Alright, I'm going to try starting Sadie for the first time since the alternator was taken out. Moment of truth, got power. She lives! Yes! Time to put this greasy thing back in the box where it belongs. That's my OCD dealt with. But then again, viewers, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more content from McElroy's Motors. Sadie is back up and running again, and I cannot be any happier. Okay, I'm lying. I have to reset the clock, reset the radio stations, just like I did when the symptoms started. So, that should take me no more than 5 minutes. But either ways, guys, I'll see you guys in a future video. Take care. Oh gosh, I gotta drag that jack all the way down.